What is up, guys? So today is going to be my spoiler review for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I know this is late into the game of Phase 4, but actually this actually marks the 5th year anniversary, or at least for this month of February, of the first Black Panther movie. So I guess the timing couldn't have been better in that aspect. So this is going to be my third video focusing on Marvel for this channel ever. With my trailer reaction to the second trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 about a week and a half ago, and my non-spoiler review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania shortly after that. And yeah, this is going to be, I guess, the third video ever on this channel focusing on Marvel. And right off the bat, this was actually the very first Marvel movie, or Marvel Cinematic Universe movie specifically, that I was actually pretty worried about. Due to the nature of the movie, the situation of the movie covering such a heavy topic, which I'll dive deeper into in a sec. And when it was first announced that Chadwick Boseman passed away, it came as a complete shock to us. It was so unexpected, and we had no idea what it meant for the future of not only the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for the Black Panther franchise in general. Which I guess here right now in February 2023, we already know the answer. But to think, though, we would have gotten a I wouldn't say very different, but just the film executed in a completely different way if Chadwick Boseman was still alive. I mean, there's a few articles that talk about that. You can just find those online. And given the MCU's latest track record up to that point, where at the same time things were not only being super mediocre, but also with the constant humor and unnecessary humor throughout most of Phase 4, which has become really unbearable for a lot of people, including myself. And also with the Letitia Wright controversy before the movie, all those things got me really worried for the film. So I went into this movie completely with a fresh mind, with no expectations whatsoever. Well, not any big ones, at least. And I gotta say, after watching it, I'm just so thankful that Marvel has once again, made a really good, solid film, especially out of this one, and one that lands and hits the mark for me, in my personal opinion. Specifically on an extremely emotional level in that aspect. After the mediocrity that was Phase 4 of the MC overall, this is definitely one of the better entries of that phase, and probably most people's second or third favorite movie of Phase 4. Anyways, on to the actual review, and before we begin, just want to put a disclaimer out there that this will contain big spoilers for the film, so if you have not a chance to see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever yet, if you want to go watch that first, then be sure to click away from this video, go watch that first, and then come back here so you can know my thoughts. Okay, so of course, the whole point of the movie was, of course, in honor, in memory, and in tribute of the late Chadwick Boseman, who passed away in 2020. And instead of what was originally going to be a Wakanda Forever, if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, this time around, this film is about going into more depth of the secondary side characters from the first film, as they now work together to protect their home of Wakanda from a new threat, whilst exploring how the characters struggle to adapt to this new next chapter of their new lives, following the death of King T'Challa. So therefore, this movie goes through the pain, the rage, the sadness, and depression and acceptance of some of the characters as they go through, T'Challa's death, and entering this new life of Wakanda without him. And it also delves into, the legacy of the Black Panther, both in terms of representative, as in Shuri being the one to take up the Black Panther mantle, her being next for the line in the throne, and how T'Challa impacts every single one of these characters. And also on the scale of legacy, literally, continuing on the Black Panther series. I just love how and appreciate how well they handle the emotional and depressing topics, and especially with addressing Chadwick Boseman's death, very maturely and respectfully. I love the direction, the story, and the execution behind it, the characters, the chemistry, the costumes, the music, all that, as well as, all of which contribute to making, this such a tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman. Especially Rihanna's latest song, Lift Me Up, for the film. That got me teary-eyed once the credits started rolling. It plays during the end credits before the mid-credits scene, and yeah, that got me really emotional at that point. The film took itself very, very seriously. Everyone from Ryan Coogler, the director of the movie, returning once again from the first film, alongside Joe Robert Cole, who is a co-writer alongside Ryan Coogler with this film again. And the cast, they all put their soul and dedication to this film. And to make Chadwick Boseman proud, and it really shows in the final film. And I love them for doing that for this film, and also for Boseman. Which overall, the movie was just breathtaking, and it was extremely emotional for me. The film wasted no time being a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and I would say that this is what makes the film such like a once in a lifetime experience, unlike most of the MCU films, because this is literally a tribute. Which yeah, it really is one of those films that you really feel in the moment, and that's what I appreciate from it. But the thing I was really excited for most was Namor the Submariner, who was played by Tenoch Huerta in this movie. One of, if not my biggest ultimate reason for actually watching this movie in the first place, considering that this is his very first motion picture debut on the big screen, and he's one of the three oldest Marvel characters to ever appear when the comics first started. You know, right next to Captain America and the original Human Torch, not the Johnny Storm one from Fantastic Four. And I gotta say, he didn't let me down. Though the casting of Namor as a Hispanic may have caught some people by surprise, and when it kind of first leaked, here's a picture of the leaked image right here. I'm gonna post it right next to me. But I was actually right into the idea from the beginning.
And last but definitely not least, for the first time on the big screen.
Oh.
Namor the Sun.
Yes! 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 Namor! Oh yes! Yes! Namor! Finally! They confirmed it!
Of course, they had to find a way to differentiate him from Aquaman, considering that both Aquaman and Namor are kings of Atlantis in their respective franchises. So, yeah, of course they had to, and they're both very super protective of their home, so of course they had to do something different from Aquaman, otherwise we would have gone basically the same thing all over again, which wouldn't be good. But you don't have to worry about any big similarities between this Namor and the current DC's Aquaman, which for Namor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they changed from Atlantis to Talokan. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've tried to search up how to pronounce it, and this is what I found. So if I accidentally incorrectly pronounce it, my sincerest apologies. But yes, this version of Namor takes a more Central American, or more specifically Aztec and Yucatan heritage and influence, in which their Talokan nation is also powered and built by underwater vibranium, which, just to go over the kind of backstory pretty briefly of Namor in this movie, they've basically been protecting, like Wakanda, their source of vibranium for centuries. In fact, they've all been born with it ever since Namor was born. It was after Namor's mother ingested it whilst pregnant with Namor, after their tribe's shaman found the underwater vibranium-rich herb to give her immunity against the virus that she had whilst Namor was pregnant. And the whole tribe followed after that, and thus turned their skin blue, and grew them gills that not only allowed them to breathe underwater, or through water, and thus needing to relocate and build a new civilization underwater. But since Namor's mother was pregnant with him at the time, for Namor's case, he was born as a mutant and a hybrid, giving him pointed ears, winged ankles, non-blue skin, and the ability to breathe through oxygen and water at the same time. So therefore, unlike his people, he can actually be on the surface for longer. And eventually, when Namor went to bury his mother after she passed away, he saw the colonialists and invaders destroying his once homeworld, or homeland, which caused him to hate the surface world. And that's where his kind of actions and his morals started from. I find his change from the comics to be very appropriate in this case, because in this way, for this film at least, it becomes a film of the clash between these two cultures, between the Aztec/Yucatan culture versus the African culture, and how both of these cultures view the world differently from each other, both on the political, social, and economical perspective, or cultural perspective in this case, and how they impact each other, and how this sets up the major conflict in this film, which I think story-wise fits well. In this case, they have conflicting views on how to best preserve and share their source of power, vibranium, with and from the rest of the world, whereas Wakanda wants to protect it at all costs by defending themselves to reduce the risk of bad people from entering Wakanda who might take their vibranium for bad reasons. Namor and his Talokan people want to directly attack those who might steal from them before they even have a chance to do so. This continues on the idea and concept of countries with extremely advanced technology and the consequences of them being accessed or known by the outside world, as well as the political relationships, that go between them and the rest of the world. And Namor and the Talokan are that consequence in this film. And we actually get to see these advanced nations or countries fighting back and striking against those who might take advantage of them or they fall under the risk of. Basically a mirror image of if the Wakandans strike first against any nations of the world that will come after their vibranium, and also, in a way, if Killmonger succeeded in the last film. But anyways, from here, for Namor, you understand his motives and reasons, but you also find that his actions are also wrong and can be taken to the very extreme. He is a great representation of the anti-hero, in my opinion, in the MCU as of right now. Well, at least until Deadpool appears. Other things I liked about Namor is that he says his iconic catchphrase from the comics, Imperius Rex, but he says it in Latin in the film. And I'm just so happy that they didn't kill him off, because everything, not only was everything about him just so damn cool, but yeah, I'm just happy to see, the Hispanic and Mexican representation in this character. And yeah, just Namor this is the first time again appearing on the big screen, and I already can't wait to see more of him because Namor is a big name when it comes to Marvel Comics.
I have many names. My people call me Kukungkan, but my enemies call me Namor.
Although I am a bit saddened that he isn't Asian though, as I kind of thought that, just by looking at him from images of him in the comics from online, that he looked pretty Asian from seeing, just seeing those on the internet. But yeah, again, I'm glad to see the Mexican and Hispanic representation in his character. Now, going on to Shuri. Shuri is the one that goes through the most development and the biggest character arc in this film. Now that T'Challa is gone, she's next in line for the throne, and therefore she takes the center stage in this film. Her arc kind of reminds me of what Peter Parker went through in No Way Home, except for this time, she goes from being in denial of T'Challa's death, 1 year later, once he passes, the anger she feels after T'Challa, and even Ramonda, her mother, which I'll go back to in a sec. Her bargaining stage, where she's basically stuck in her own, in her technology, and doing science experiments, and not only is a coping mechanism, but it's because that she regrets not being fast enough to use her science and technology to help find a cure for T'Challa's disease before it's too late and he passes. The depression, of course, and finally up to her true acceptance of it all. It may have been a bit annoying at times, considering that she is pretty much the science whiz and the one that only views things from a very scientific and logical perspective in life, which contrasts between Ramonda, who views things as a more spiritual perspective when it comes to accepting T'Challa's death. But it's all part of the journey that she goes through. But yeah, I just really like how Shuri's arc was handled and executed, and Shuri knocks it out of the park. Well, more specifically, Letitia Wright knocks it out of the park, and she was able to bring that arc, to such an emotional level that I really feel for her. So yeah, props to Letitia Wright for bringing all that out. But going back to Queen Ramonda, I have to say that out of all the performances, though, I have to agree that Angela Bassett's performance is the strongest and most powerful one in this film. And I definitely do agree that she definitely deserves Oscar-worthy recognition. And yeah, again, because she has the most absolutely powerful performance in this film.
I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world! And my entire family is gone! Have I not given everything?
Now, moving on to the character of Ironheart, aka Riri Williams. I liked her introduction in this movie because she's a new character that's introduced in this film and also in this phase. And I don't know, does she seem better than her comic book version? I mean, I don't know. For you comic book fans out there, you guys can let me know in the comments below. I didn't find her Iron Man connection to be so forced in. It came as more subtly just to, kind of set her up for her own series that's coming whenever that's gonna be. But my biggest problem with Riri Williams is that she is such a plot device in this film. Because Basically, she becomes involved in the story when she constructs an underwater device as a science project, which unknowingly is taken by the CIA to help find and detect vibranium, which put Namor and his Talokan nation at risk and endangered of them being exposed to the rest of the world. So Shuri, Okoye, and Ramonda rescued her from both Namor and the government, and this is how it sparked the war between Wakanda and the Talokan, and basically led to Ramonda's death, causing the Wakandans to take refuge at the Jabari tribe, aka M'Baku's tribe, Shuri taking creating a synthetic heart-shaped herb, and becoming the next Black Panther, and Okoye being fired from a post as General of Dora Milaje after Riri Williams and Shuri are kidnapped by Namor and his Talokan people, and therefore forming the Midnight Angels with Aneka, which is another new Wakandan character that's introduced in this film. And on top of that, she has plot armor, basically after she's saved by Ramonda when Namor attacks Wakanda. Ramonda basically drowns trying to save Riri Williams, and Riri survives but not Ramonda, just to progress the plot and the character arc that Shuri has, obviously. So all this essentially could have been avoided if Riri's science project didn't end up in the hands of the CIA. So yeah, there you go. Plot device. Bravo. You really just set up a major plot. Yeah, basically set up like this long-running plot arc just because this character was involved, just to set her up as an introduction to her series that's coming whenever that's going to be again. So yeah, bravo for that. The humor in this movie is, it's better than most of the Phase 4 entries, actually. It's well-deserved and satisfying, and doesn't feel thrown or forced in there, or out of place or feels inappropriately placed. It happens in actually humorous moments, rather than taking the seriousness out of the more serious moments.
I'm warning you, do not take another step toward me.
See how they teach the children to treat their guests.
Put this spear in here. Who brought a spear in here?
I like her.
So another character that appears in this movie, which is a character that a lot of people actually want to appear or have predicted or theorized or speculated would appear in the movie, is none other than Eric Killmonger. And at first I didn't really understand or get what his intended purpose in the film was, but after watching it the second time, which I watched it with my mom because she wanted to watch it, and I've already watched it once back when I was in Toronto when the movie came out. And so, yeah, I watched it with her, and she honestly fell asleep. Yeah, that's how long the movie is, actually. But yeah, after watching it a second time, I actually understood better, why Killmonger was in the film in the end. Because Killmonger represents the rage and the anger that Shuri is secretly hiding inside her against Namor after Namor kills Ramonda. And seeing Killmonger allows her to unleash and release all that until the very last minute. But I can also kind of see that he is also, in his own way, trying to encourage Shuri to not be like her relatives because he complains that T'Challa was too noble, and then his father was hypocritical, and basically he's trying to encourage her to do what she needs to get things done. Well, if only he didn't say the words, "Are you gonna be like your relatives, or are you gonna take care of business like me?" If he hadn't added those last two words, I think Shuri would have gotten the message clearer. But yeah, I honestly feel, though, at the same time, that Killmonger's appearance feels maybe a little bit fan-servicey. I mean, because, again, a lot of people have predicted and speculated that he would appear, or that have theorized that they would resurrect him, and he would take on the mantle of Black Panther, which I thought was utterly ridiculous. One, because they already did that in the What If series, and two, it would just completely undermine his character development from the first film. So, I mean, I don't know, but at first it was a bit fan-servicey for me, but after watching it the second time again, I got why he was in the film. So Okoye had her moments, but she didn't really have that much to do than the last film. It's actually kind of similar in a way. She goes with the main character to another country to do something, but except in this one, she gets fired as her post as General of the Dora Milaje, and basically takes on a new moniker or alter ego. M'Baku this time around is mainly support for Shuri, which I appreciate this development actually, because he started out as a rival tribe to T'Challa's family, to being one of their closest friends, and for being a tribe leader who doesn't want anything to do with the rest of the Wakandan tribes, to being there as one of the High Council members of the nation. So yeah, I really do appreciate that sort of arc from M'Baku. Nakia, almost the same thing. She's mainly support for Shuri this time around, mainly consoling her throughout her process of grieving T'Challa's death. And also she helps to introduce another character this time around, which she reveals that she has a son whom she had with T'Challa, and his name is Toussaint, but his Wakanda name is T'Challa II or T'Challa Jr., whichever you want to call it. So yes, it's revealed that they have a son in the mid-credits of the movie, and about this I'm actually kind of split, because like the fact that they don't want to recast Chadwick Boseman, but are theoretically replacing him with his son, who has the same name, literally. I mean, I get that it is an in-universe tribute to the character of T'Challa, but I mean, I don't know. I'm honestly kind of split. It does sound... I don't want to say hypocritical, because I feel like it'll be a bit excessive of a word, but yeah, I'm honestly kind of split in it. Like, they don't want to recast T'Challa, but yet are kind of replacing him in a way with kind of like the same character in a way. But I don't know. I just feel a little bit split on this. I mean, I don't even know what to think of this. But again, I understand it as an in-universe tribute to the character, which is nice to see the characters T'Challa and Nakia finally tied a knot. Well, now it's revealed to be off-screen before the events of this movie. There was also some green screen and CGI that still looked really bad and obvious in some places, especially in a shot here when Namor is diving into the water. But again, not as much as the first film had, where thankfully it didn't have as much bad CGI than the first film. But probably my biggest criticism of this movie is that despite being on its own, acting on its own, it still kind of feels like it sets up too much, you know. It sets up, you know, Ironheart, obviously, with Riri Williams, the Thunderbolts, which includes, you know, Valentina, who is a character you may have seen from Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow, and is revealed to be the ex-wife of Everett Ross, who appeared in the first Black Panther film, and yeah, her appearance kind of sets up, you know, Thunderbolts right there. And, you know, the Midnight Angels, which is, if it's the untitled Wakanda spin-off that's currently in the works, or if it's still in development, if it is, then I have high bets that that is the one that they're gonna title it. Midnight Angels, based on Okoye and Aneka's adventures throughout Wakanda as the Midnight Angels. And it could also set up any potential Black Panther sequels, you know, with Shuri now taking on the mantle, but now we have Toussaint / T'Challa II, who is now theoretically also up for the throne in the future, so who knows where they might go from there. And also a potential Namor film, which I don't really know the specifics of, you know, the film rights for that character, but I mean, I don't know. But we do know for a fact, it was just recently announced, that Namor will appear in Avengers Kang Dynasty next. So yes, it's been recently announced he's the first hero / anti-hero to appear as one of the newest Avengers in Kang Dynasty, so really looking forward to Namor reappearing in Avengers Kang Dynasty. But again, not sure if he'll manage to get his own solo flick or anything due to the rights and anything, which I'm still unsure about. Alright, so I think I basically covered everything, basically explained the movie pretty much from all the best I can. So with all that being said, I'm going to go straight into the final score and the final rating of the movie, which I'm going to give Black Panther Wakanda Forever an 8 out of 10 and a B+. I don't feel that there's any real point in comparing the two Black Panther films, to be honest, to see which I think is better than the other or worse than the other, because these two Black Panther films are two very distinctive, different movies from each other. You know, you could basically go into these films without knowing the other, and you can look at them on its own. They can act on their own. Therefore, I don't feel any need or necessity to compare the two, as each of them are very unique in their own way, and special and powerful in their own way, that deliver the same message at the end of the day. Alright guys, so that's going to do for my movie explanation and spoiler movie review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, you can leave a like on this video because it helps out a ton. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you can tune in for more videos like this, where I'm still trying to work on shortening them because I know that a lot of my family and friends have been complaining that they're just way too long, especially for a non-spoiler review. So I'm still working on that. Don't worry, it will get short in the future, I promise you. But I'm actually also going to use this video to kind of basically give my own sort of mini tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman in my own way, because he has grown to have become one of my favorite actors before he passed away. You know, I was just as shocked as everybody else. You know, when my friend messaged me one morning to tell me that Chadwick Boseman passed away, I thought he was joking around. I did not want to believe him for one sec. I was like, dude, this is not cool. What are you doing? This is so mean. Until I had to just search it up, and before I knew it, it was real. That Chadwick Boseman actually passed away, and I was really saddened by it because, again, he's grown to become one of my favorite actors. You know, seeing him from, you know, acting as James Brown and Get On Up, and also Black Panther, and seeing him The Five Bloods and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. You know, he had a bright future ahead of him, and you know, the fact that he's gone too soon now, you know, it really is emotional to kind of think about it. You cannot deny the range and power of talent that this guy had, and the dedication and commitment that he had to putting the art in his acting, you know, in his movies, you know, because he was actually diagnosed with colon cancer back in 2016 after Captain America Civil War came out. And the fact that he was able to keep pushing himself to keep going to get these films out there without anybody knowing, man, you have to give props to him, because like, you don't see that every day. So the fact that he was able to do that is just inspirational and amazing, but also really sad that, yeah, he was struggling through all this and we didn't even know. So yes, I'm going to use this video and platform to kind of give my own mini tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman and just say, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Your legacy will not be forgotten, and your honor, your dedication, and your commitment will not be forgotten either. And thank you for bringing the character of the Black Panther, aka T'Challa, to life. And yeah, just rest in peace, and just thank you so much for everything that you've brought to this world. And of course, this goes without saying, Wakanda forever.